When you guys were cheering more for her, I felt a little bit upset. So next time, please, nobody saw this coming. Arena Sabalenka had just walked off the court after delivering a dominant performance, winning 6-1, 6-4, and the entire world stood ready to applaud her victory. Instead, she took hold of the microphone and delivered words that brought everything to a sudden halt. When you guys were cheering more for her, I was a little bit upset. So next time, please go for me. Let those words sink in deeply. This wasn't a struggling player on a long losing streak, desperately reaching out for attention in a moment of weakness. This was the world number one, a player boasting 25 wins and just one loss throughout the 2026 season so far. A three-time champion already this year. And there she stood on her own grand stage, openly telling the crowd that they had been directing their cheers toward the wrong person. It was undeniably bold, but what transformed that moment into something truly explosive wasn't merely the words she spoke. It was the underlying reason she felt compelled to say them at all. Because just days earlier, something had shifted quietly yet powerfully in Madrid, a change that almost no one had anticipated. At the Laureus World Sports Awards 2026, Arena Sabalenka accepted the Sportswoman of the Year honor. Yet in the very same breath, she admitted that she sometimes wanted to disappear entirely from the spotlight. Meanwhile, across the room, the 21-year-old Eala made a striking entrance, dressed in a breathtaking Filipiniana gown designed by her own uncle. She owned every single second of that moment with effortless grace, showing no desire to hide, no inclination to shrink herself, only pure and unapologetic cultural pride displayed on a global stage. Two athletes, two entirely opposite energies, and the city of Madrid was about to experience the stark difference between them. Just 2 days later, Eala stepped onto the Arancha Sanchez Stadium and dismantled Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova with a commanding score of 6-3, 6-3. Filipino fans roared passionately from the stands while representatives from the Philippine embassy watched the action live. Then, in the middle of her post-match interview, she seamlessly switched into flawless Spanish and told the crowd exactly what they longed to hear. "I love Madrid." The audience erupted. The moment exploded across the internet and went viral within hours. She hadn't simply won a tennis match, she had announced her arrival to the entire world in unforgettable fashion. And then the tournament organizers made a decision that left many people puzzled and unable to fully explain it. Her next match against Elise Mertens was relocated to a much smaller outer court. There was no packed main stadium, no roaring atmosphere to build upon the momentum she had created. The growing buzz that had surrounded her for days was quietly pushed into a quieter corner of the complex. The energy shifted and the results seemed to follow that shift. She lost 2-6, 1-6. But even before the final point was played, Eala walked over to the umpire's chair mid-match and spoke clearly. "First of all, please let me speak." That wasn't mere drama. That was a determined player refusing to be rendered invisible, refusing to allow the moment to be taken away from her without standing up for herself. Now here is the image that captures everything about what truly unfolded in Madrid. While Eala's passionate fans were packed tightly into Court 5, barely able to breathe, unable to recreate the electric atmosphere they had helped build just 2 days earlier, Arena Sabalenka was competing simultaneously on the massive Manilo Santana Stadium. The venue was at full capacity with every seat filled. And yet, even in that grand setting, Sabalenka felt that the crowd's energy wasn't fully directed toward her. That wasn't a coincidence, that was a story in itself. Eala, often affectionately referred to as Eala or IA in fan circles, entered this tournament ranked 44th in the world. She was coming off a career-high ranking of 29, the highest position any Filipino woman has ever achieved in WTA history. But her fans weren't showing up just for a ranking number. They were there for something far deeper, something that cannot be measured or ranked, the powerful feeling of witnessing history unfold in real time. Her uncle, the designer of that iconic Filipiniana dress, said he is proud to be known simply as Eala's Tito. Think about that statement. It goes beyond ordinary family loyalty, it represents a genuine cultural movement. And when the tournament moved her match to that outer court, they didn't succeed in killing the energy. They only displaced it. That energy spilled out through the hallways, spread into the wider atmosphere, and ultimately flowed all the way to the main arena, where Arena Sabalenka later addressed it directly through the microphone in front of the entire crowd. Here's the bigger picture though. This wasn't Arena Sabalenka's first public clash with forces outside her direct control. Earlier in the season, she had openly pushed back against a tournament director regarding comments about withdrawal penalties, calling the situation ridiculous and even questioning whether she would return to the event in the future. Now, the roles had quietly reversed in a fascinating way. The same player who once threatened to boycott a tournament was now being challenged by a crowd dynamic she couldn't control. That symmetry isn't random. It reveals something deeper and very real, a growing tension between those who demand the spotlight and those who are actively earning it through their presence and passion. And while all of this was unfolding in Madrid, a spectacular exhibition match took place at the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium. Nadal, Sinner, and other stars turned tennis into a grand global celebration, drawing millions of eyes toward the sport and expanding its reach. Arena Sabalenka chose to sit that event out, explaining that she wanted to stay fully focused on competition, which is understandable on a professional level. But symbolically, while everyone else was helping to expand what tennis could be as a spectacle, she stepped back from the biggest room in the building. The contrast wrote itself clearly. Greg Rusedski, the former world number 4 and one of the sharpest analytical voices in the sport, watched Eala's loss and didn't offer simple sympathy. Instead, he pointed to one key word: resilience. In tennis, that word isn't just about comfort or consolation, it's a forward-looking projection. It's what separates the players who enjoy a brief flash of success from those who go on to build something enduring and lasting. Because what happened in Madrid wasn't solely about scheduling decisions. It was a misreading of reality by those in charge. The Philippine embassy had shown up. Fans had traveled across continents. The incredible energy that filled the Arancha Sanchez Stadium on her first match day wasn't something the tournament had manufactured or handed out. It was something the people themselves had brought with them. And the WTA is beginning to notice that this fan base isn't just a passing trend, it is becoming a solid foundation. From here, Eala heads into the Catalonia Open as a 6th seed, followed by the Italian Open and then the French Open. And every tournament from this point onward will face the same unavoidable question. What do you do with a player whose following and cultural impact have already grown bigger than her current draw position? Because Arena Sabalenka ultimately won the Madrid title, but the story, the real narrative that captured hearts and headlines, followed Eala home. That inversion says everything. Real crowd power, the kind that crosses oceans, mobilizes entire communities, and fills stadiums without needing official permission, isn't something a tournament can simply assign or control. It's something that people build together organically and passionately. And the Filipino fan base didn't wait for an elite ranking to tell them when it was time to believe. They showed up early, they showed up loud, and they showed up together. So, if Madrid was only the preview, what will happen when Eala finally steps onto a court large enough to truly hold the weight of everything and everyone standing behind her? The sport might not be fully ready for that answer yet. Drop your prediction below, and if you want to be here when this story reaches its next exciting chapter, make sure you don't miss it.